Hey, the ring light's in the way. Oh, the ring light's right where the sun is. Okay, I can't stop that. Hi, folks. Oh, how are we doing? Crazy times, right? Wowie. Eminentizing the eschaton. Time for the apocalypse, I reckon. Time for me to get a new jumper also. It's not like shops are closed. I can still order stuff online. So, this channel is like a philosophy channel. I have a degree in psychology. I don't have a degree in philosophy. The reason why I wanted to do a philosophy channel is because I found myself in coaching very often getting to the point with somebody where I was like, I think we need to approach this subject or your question, dear client, from a philosophical perspective. The traditional position of psychologist as somewhere between a doctor, a priest, and an all-knowing mystic has grown in feeling more and more, what does the radical left say? Problematic. Ooh. It's a tricky scenario. It's a tricky setup. Really tricky setup. And I think what's becoming apparent is it encourages fraudulence and charlatanism. I am not saying that all psychologists are frauds and charlatans. There's a lot of very well-meaning psychologists, counselors, psychotherapists, psychiatrists out there who, many of whom probably just started out like asking the question, how can I help people? And then getting led down this path by institutions and establishments that sort of bestow magical powers on people. Like they're like, you have given us money, so you can have the shiny badge. You didn't give us money, so do one. And you go, well, who qualifies the qualifier? Who's like, well, we are good at psychology. Really? How do we know? Like if somebody's claiming that they're dead good at heart surgery or brain surgery, sorry to do this, I have to show you again. You would be able to know statistically whether they were good. You'd be able to, there you go, isn't that nice? That's beautiful, isn't it? You'd be able to look statistically at the average success rate, and then you look at theirs, and then you'd go, oh, well, yeah, you're good at that. There's no such thing in psychology. There's no such thing. There's no such test for psychologists that tests their ability to heal people. Indeed, a lot of people out there who would be like, I'm a counselor, I'm a psychologist. They don't actually really work with people. So I'm like, well, what do you do then? What do you do? What solutions do you provide? Well, I don't provide solutions for people. I help them to understand what the problem is. And I go, well, I think we've done enough of that, haven't we? And isn't that a bit safe? Isn't that a bit suspiciously safe that you're sat behind a very high wall where you can't really be criticized because actually all you're doing is repeating the published research from other people who state and restate what the problem is? While a mental health pandemic rages on, it doesn't seem to be particularly useful to me. So when you step out of that and you go, this is a problem, and I would include, the full range right the way through to life coaching. The defense of life coaching was always, well, we coach people to do stuff in the future rather than permanently rummaging around in the past. And I sort of think, yeah, but you're still presenting as the person with the solution who offers to the client who doesn't have solutions. Again, charlatanism and fraud must follow in the footsteps for such a setup. Not that if you coach somebody or counsel somebody, you automatically de facto become a fraud. What I'm saying is the abuse, the discretionary gap between what you're supposed to do and what you could do is so wide And who's going to hold you accountable? Who's holding anybody accountable? You could do or say anything. You just make it up. And I don't know, a few of your clients might go on forums and sort of complain and say that was weird, or they might go on social media and say, but otherwise, there's no real consequence. Possibly even to the point that we could say that if you engage in that dynamic where you have one who knows and one who does not know, but the one who knows has never been through any sort of a rigorous testing process, how can they not end up abusing the trust of the one who does not know? Philosophy provides the solution to that, because you can say, well, you can dialogue with me and we can come up with solutions together, but I can't give you anything. Now, I can straight away tell you what the big problem is. That's the most orangey orange I've ever seen of orange ever. Just one more time. Just look. Behold. Oh, lens flare. Not lens flare. Overexposed. Where you can shift and you can say, okay, I don't have the answers, but we can figure out the answers together, but it's not as marketable. Not as marketable. What are you saying, Richard? Are you saying that psychology has the shape that it has because of money? Yes. Yes. But not always in a very direct and explicit way. You know how Freud came from this idea of the drive towards pleasure, the pleasure principle, and that a lot of things was correlated with sex. And it was one of the things that him and Alfred Adler really fell out over, because Adler was like, you're obsessed with sex. When you understand it as like a superstructure that drives life, that drives people forward, the sex drive as being the way in which reality is organized, the way in which we impose a superstructure on our perceptions of reality and organize reality, I think it's valid. I don't think it's valid to say everything comes down to sex. No, everything doesn't come down to sex. But don't be so literal. What about drive to life? What about libido? What about the acquisition of pleasure? Because when you have sex, you are effectively in a very consumer modality. You alter your state and you have an end goal, hopefully orgasm, I hope. I was nearly going to say for most of you, for all of you, I hope it's that. Which is a guaranteed pleasurable experience. And you're engaging in the act for the pleasure of the act, for love, for intimacy, but all of this is pleasure. All of this is pleasure. I'm not trying to reduce sex to just being like an animalistic thing. Absolutely, it's better if there's love and intimacy there. But what I'm saying is there's a sort of a consumerist mode of doing sex. Similarly, when humans aren't fixated on sex, which is necessary for our propagation, we're fixated on food, which is necessary for our survival, hour by hour, day by day. And again, we're back into consumerism. So when I'm talking about the perils and the poison of particularly exploitative consumer capitalism, I'm not trying to say somebody did it to us. What I'm saying is that we impose consumer capitalism on ourselves, and that permits and causes and demands that somebody do it to us. Because when you are consuming, you are the babe at the teat. You are, is this Melanie Klein's theory? Good breast, bad breast? I think it's Melanie Klein. You're regressing back to, I want the pleasurable experience, and it goes in this hole. Or if you go and watch a movie, it goes in these holes. Or if you're having sex, you're using the base chakra orifices. we shouldn't hide from that. We should let that be a way of understanding things. Is psychology and the psychological moment therefore intrinsically both fraudulent for the reasons I gave earlier and sexual? And I would say, in a sense, yes. People come to coaches and psychotherapists and counselors looking for healing, solutions, resolutions, better relationships, a fix to a broken relationship. You're looking for a precious bead. You're looking for a bauble. You're looking for, there's an end. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and then there's an orgasmic end. What's the orgasmic end of psychotherapy and psychoanalysis? It's the, what do we call it? A therapeutic breakthrough. It's like, what's the end of a spiritual journey? A revelation, an enlightenment, a moment of samsara or nirvana, satori. You're aiming at these things. You're aiming at these things. So you're consuming the experience to get to an end goal. All of this is intrinsically lends itself to fraudulence and con artistry, both in the sense that it permits the con artists and the frauds to use it. And the more I'm looking around, the more I'm going, not that people are outright con artists, because if I say to you, look, at the end of the day, I'm a counselor. You pay me an amount per hour. I think in the US for counseling, you're looking at, like, the average is about $70 an hour. For psychotherapy, it might be, depending on state by state, it's different. Psychiatry, it could be like $400 an hour. Psychotherapy could be $200. Well, it's an amount of cash. And I say to you, look, it's not magic. I'm not going to wave my hands over you and your problems are going to go away. What's your expectation of this experience? Don't know. Have they watched Woody Allen movies? Do they think it's just going to be 10 years of them talking with the hope that something comes through? Do they think that you're going to, do the magic hands-on thing and then everything is going to be okay? What does the client actually expect? But in a sense, it forces both humans in the room into a role play. Now, I've been very lucky. I've worked with a lot of people. I've never had a client accuse me of being fraudulent, but I have a lot of people who haven't worked with me and they watch my videos accuse me of being off, like weird vibe, kind of like they're not, there's a distrust there. And I've been really thinking about that. Like, what is it? On one level, I'm like, okay, if you see somebody who's confident and they've got a bit of an attitude, which I do, an unapologetic, I don't suffer fools. I never did. There's never been, I have problems with codependency. I am a fawn responder, but I'm also known for being impatient, and I'm also known for just not suffering fools. And I'm not going to pander to people who I think are behaving badly. Never have. I've never been that type of a codependent. My codependency is in loving relationships and business and family stuff. So some people will be like, hey, this feels off. He should be fawning to me and he's not. And you go, oh, okay, so you're reducing it to every complaint being a Karen, I'm trying to dominate you. I want a good service. When you go, screw off, I'm not going to do that. And then there's a negative response. Okay, yes, maybe. And some of it is that. But I think it's more than that. I think in our hearts, we know that the idea that somebody is going to offer you solutions to the problems in your life, it can't really work. We want it to. This will be confusing for people about, so what are you saying? Like, when we look for counseling, do we know it's not going to work? On some level, yeah. On some level, in the way that if you were ever in a emotionally abusive relationship, you knew that your partner was lying, but you couldn't deal with the horrible reality of them lying. So you lied to yourself and made yourself believe that they were telling the truth, even when you had the evidence in front of you that they were lying. In Freudian psychoanalysis, this is called, is it Freudian? It's Zizek. has used the term fetishist split. I'm not sure if it's Freud. Well, it's from the Freudian school, whatever. It's a Freudian idea. It's based on Freud's work. A fetishist split. I know very well that my wife is cheating on me, but I can't afford to know, because the mortgage, the kids, the divorce, my friend killed himself over his divorce, you know? So what's worse? Which horrifying reality will I choose? Red or blue pill? The red pill, my whole life will disintegrate. I could lose my job because I live in a Muslim conservative country. Right, or I don't know, some reason why you're working for your wife's father, and you're gonna lose your role. You're gonna lose your kids. You're not gonna see them. Everything. You're gonna be paying out. You're gonna lose. So you just tell yourself, she's not cheating, but it's not conscious. It's the fetishist split is made unconsciously, but it's not so simple as conscious and unconscious. Some things that are in the unconscious are sort of like half conscious and half not. I said I wouldn't do it again. There's a cat staring at me, and now she's staring at you. And it's really windy outside, and I'm wondering if she's been locked out. So I'm just gonna open my door in case she's stuck. Oh, she's gone. Okay, maybe she might have been called. And he said by her mum. Her owner is human, not her mother. So you know and you don't know. So when you go to coaching or counseling, you kind of know that it can't work the way it's advertised. It can't work the way it's marketed. Now here, listen. So say you come to me and I say, listen, it's fucking hard. I've gone through it. It's going to be measured in months and years. You must be disciplined. You must have the attitude of thinking nothing of doing something like 5-6 times a day for months possibly, and changing your life. Like if you drink, you're going to have to stop. If you fucking drink loads of coffee, you may have to stop. You may have to really, it's almost like what I demand of people is at the level of like personal training or even religious stuff. I'm like, you can't just live the way you've been living and think you're going to heal from PTSD and CPTSD. You can't. So I give you all this spiel, and I go, it's tough. You got to be disciplined. It's not for everybody. I know I rub people up. I rub people up the wrong way. I know I do. So you got to tolerate me, and then you got to tolerate what I'm telling you. It's not fun. And I say all that. But if you're really steeped in consumer capitalism and you've been advertised to a lot, you'll receive that as, oh, this is his sales pitch. This is his sales pitch. It's like, there'll be a term for it in marketing, like selling off the back foot, or I don't know, selling through hardship, or there will be something. There will be a way of saying like, no, it's not for you. And it makes people go, oh, now I really want it. So I can do all that, but it won't counterbalance years of conversation, news stories, portrayals in films of what you've understood the therapeutic process to be. And I've had this problem time and again with every client. I tell them, I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore, but like I'd give them a contract to sign and I'd say, this is what coaching is. This is what it isn't. Do you agree? Sign, please, tick every box that says you agree, sign here. And then on session 2, we run into at least one of those problems from the list. I'm like, you signed an agreement to this, that you wouldn't be asking me to do this, or you wouldn't have this expectation because this isn't what I do. But my little 15 minutes of saying what it is and what it isn't can't counteract years and years and hours of marketing about what therapy, coaching, and counseling is. Does that make sense? So even if the person you're talking to hasn't promised you magic or hasn't promised you amazing results, you may still go in with that expectation, having received advertising from elsewhere. If I say to you, I'm going to do Reiki, and Reiki is this, but you've got an idea of what Reiki is from everything else, the everything else is going to outweigh what I say it is, right? There you go. So there is this element to it where you kind of go in and you go, okay, I'm living in two realities. One is I kind of know that no other human being can really alter my life through a conversation. Not really. I know that and I don't know that. I'm in the fetishist split. But another part of me, the part that's in the blue pill side of the fetishist split, wants to believe it's true and then starts stacking anecdotes from friends, newspaper articles, ideas that therapy can be quick and easy, or coaching could be, change your life in a short period of time, whatever. And so you go for that. But it creates a very brittle form of dialogue where even with all the honesty and the attempted look, this is what it is and this is what it isn't, sign the contract saying that you understand it, where I would still feel, where I would feel like I'm stealing. Like I'm not. If I know you're already deceived, my protestations of honesty don't mean anything. You're already deceived. So what do? Do I not offer the counseling? Or do I say, this person, if they don't come to me, they're going to go to somebody else? So do I do it or not? So in the end, I said, I'm not doing it. I just said, I'm just not playing this fucking stupid game with other adults anymore. Listen, folks, I don't read much research. I'm not a brain box. I'm not like big time academic dude, but I can read research, and I do read some. And the research on psychotherapy and counseling is, and how effective it is not encouraging. When proven systems, like a proven system that's done very well in the scientific research versus other systems, is cognitive behavioral therapy. So you go, wow, this cognitive behavioral therapy is done well, reliably, across contexts, across problems, compared to other systems of therapy. So you think, that's the one for me. Mm-hmm. Then you read the meta-analyses comparing cognitive behavioral therapy to massage. Spiritual massage, massage with a conversation, massage, just massage. To crystal healing, to chanting, to prayer. And just so you know, it's not favorable. It's not. I've not seen much that says that cognitive behavioral therapy as one thing to pick on does damage. Sometimes you'll get clumsy therapists. They're trying to work with people who are traumatized. They don't really understand PTSD. And they think that some clients don't have it and some do. And I'm just like, whatever the problem the client's presenting with, it's come from trauma. It's if you can't, as a therapist, and this is my humble opinion, I don't want to offend anybody, but you can't as a therapist say, I don't deal with PTSD. You can't say that. You do. Whether you want to or not, whether you're trained or not, you're dealing with PTSD and you're dealing with CPTSD. So if there's any therapists or counselors watching this, you must educate yourself on the subject. You must, because people need you. So if you go in with that sort of mindset and you go in that paradigm of you're going to heal me, and you're going to give me solutions, when you look across contexts and you look at scientific research, it indicates that the best therapeutic solutions from psychology and counseling are only about as good as taking time out. Reiki healing, hands-on healing, massage therapy, chanting, seriously, alternative therapies. So what does that tell us? Well, if sitting in a room and having another human being give you attention is the common denominator, that may be the thing that's helping you. It might not. Where else would you get 100% attention from another adult? Usually people do therapy for 1 hour a week. So you do massage or physio for 1 hour a week. You have an adult looking at you, listening to you, giving you total attention, we hope, for an hour. It's a very unique experience. It's very rare. When you're with a friend talking, you don't get that kind of attention. They're not 100% focused on you. They're thinking about what they're saying. They're talking about their lives, whatever else. Plus, they have an agenda, which is why you can't counsel your mates. Is it actually just the time and the attention with another human being that's doing the healing? Do you see what? I hope I've made this point. I don't know whether I've made this point well here. It's not that it's the con and the fraudulence of psychology and counseling is at its heart. You already know another human being. Like, if your mum really didn't love you when you were 3 and you were not wanted, show me the modality through normal counseling that can heal that. Heal it. See, because they don't talk healing. They're like, oh, we don't talk. Who talks about healing? What is that? Some weird new age hippie shit. What is that? Some religious shit. But if you're not healing people, what are you doing? Like when I go to my surgeon for my ACL and ask him, how long will this heal? He doesn't recoil. He doesn't sneer at me. He doesn't go, oh, we don't do healing here. Well, you fucking better I'd do, because I went private and it was bloody expensive. Heal the fucker. I tried not to swear. I got 24 minutes and I tried not to swear. I would say heal the fucker. That's what I paid you for. When I ask him about healing, he doesn't flinch. Psychiatrists flinch. Counselors flinch. Psychotherapists flinch. Because they know they can't really heal you, which is another level of con. People are coming in for healing. What can you offer? Insight. Insight. Is insight healing? It could be. It could be. But it's not a definitive outcome. It's not a definitive outcome. So what I would say then is, well, let's stop fucking playing games with each other. Back to philosophy. If you look at the roots of psychoanalysis, there's no way you can't claim that these educated Viennese gentlemen who used Greek mythology were not very au fait with Greek philosophy. So they knew what a philosophical chat was. They knew what the Socratic method was. They 100% would have done. You can't claim that psychoanalysis isn't an echo, a permutation of the Socratic dialogue. So I'd say if the underlying structure of everything is just time with another human being giving you attention, and that's the thing that's healing you, of all the things, that's the thing that's healing you, you'd be better off going deeper and having a full philosophical upgrade. You might not have a philosophy. I speak to people all the time, they have no philosophy, and I'm like, no wonder you're fucked. But they come to me and they say, how can I cure my laziness? So I'll go, what's your purpose in life? Buy Gucci? Buy a Lambo. Be a rapper. What's your purpose in life? What's your purpose in life? What's your mission? Ain't got one? Right. So your perception of your problem, I say to I don't have clients now, but say like I'm chatting to somebody on Instagram Live, is that you have a trait deficiency because psychology has marketed to you that that's how this problem works. And again, it's part of consumer capitalism. You're like an app with a bug. And if we fix the line of code that's off, you'll work perfectly and everything will be great. It's horseshit. It's fucking horseshit. You feel lazy. Of course you feel lazy. You've got no purpose. You've got no mission. You're not living for anything. You can't live to consume, guys. You can't live to consume. That's not a psychologist's point. That's a philosopher's point. That's why I made the philosophy channel. That's a philosopher's point. You cannot have a life, the purpose of which is the seeking after pleasure, like physical pleasure. There's different types of pleasure. You could have, the pleasure of great work. You could have the pleasure of helping fellow human beings. Okay, maybe call that virtuous pleasure or whatever. But pure hedonism is what consumer capitalism offers you. It's not interested in virtuous pleasure because you can't make any money off it. I know I sound like a stock record. I know I sound like a fucking weirdo. consumer capitalism puts a dollar sign on everything. It's not interested in anything that is not priceable. It's not. It's blind. It's like a huge God that demands endless, constant sacrifice of your time and your attention. You go, I don't sacrifice my time and my attention to Moloch, the great god of capitalism. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. How do you make money? I work. And what do they demand of you at work? Time, attention, converted into money, and then thrown into the burning belly of Moloch every day. I feel lazy. Of course you fucking feel lazy. Your life is shit. Your body's going, oh, what are we doing today? We do a shit job that I hate. I might give myself some pleasure at lunchtime. How will you do that? There's an offer on at McDonald's. And I'm going to treat myself to a McFlurry because that's the only pleasure I get in my life. And then you say, I feel lazy. Well, yeah, because there's no flaw. You're not a robot with a faulty mechanism. You're living a shite life. Why should your body give you energy? For what? You're not like, oh my God, I'm going to go and save cats if you love cats. Selflessly fucking save the suffering of physical entities that you love. Save children. Save the homeless. You're not. Should it be charitable? What else is there that's not charitable? Your magnum opus, your art, this beautiful sculpture that's going to live on after you're dead, the movie that's going to change people's perception across the globe forevermore that you're going to write, the beautiful album some fucking thing. It can't be nothing. It can't be, McDonald's. Oh, I feel sick now. Oh, it's going to be difficult to shit this out later because it's not really nutrition. Oh, I've got bowel cancer. Oh, well. And your body and your brain is just slowly giving up year by year because there's no mission, there's no purpose. There's no virtue in your life because you're sold on the idea that you're a robot, you're a passive consumer of culture, and that if you're feeling lazy, feeling unmotivated, feeling depressed, feeling anxious, somebody with authority called a counselor, if you knew how screwed up the personal lives of these mental health practitioners that you're putting money into the hands of were, you would be upset. You would be upset. Their lives don't work. I'm not saying that my life is amazing, but I have a mission. Nobody would deny that. I might be a dick. I might be, I don't know, too confrontational for mental health. Maybe that's true. Too opinionated for the field I'm in. Probably. I'm bound to rub people up the wrong way. But partly the reason why I rub people up the wrong way in mental health is because I don't suffer fools. And it's a place run by and populated by fools. And they're scared. The elephant in the room is I frighten people. I scare the shit out of people. Across context, but particularly in mental health. I scare the shit out of people. Because I don't mind saying that emperor's naked. That emperor's got his big fat belly out. And he's naked. I can see his breasts. He's naked. And they think, fuck, this guy may expose me. I don't know what will happen with this guy. So that's where compassion comes in. Because I'm like, what's their fucking problem? And then I'm like, well, what do you think your problem would be if you were in their shoes? That's actually not compassion. That's actually empathy. When you go into the other person's shoes and then you look at you objectively and you go, oh, okay, I'm in a glass house and that guy is a bit of a loose cannon and he may knock this glass house down. Okay. Now I see it and I go, okay, fine, compassion. I get it. But what I would suggest to you all is, said it before, it's worth repeating, psychology has its roots in philosophy. You're going to get more from philosophy than you are from psychology. Indeed, some research indicates that when it comes to overcoming trauma, which I fucking know is the root of 95% of the mental health issues out there, is rooted in a philosophical shift. You can't really overcome trauma. Say if you went to a counselor, you went to a personal development group, you went for a weekend, you went to a sweat lodge, you went fasting, you went chanting, you took ayahuasca, and your problem is still there. It's not a cosmetic problem, dude or dudette. It's a trauma-based problem. Psychology probably won't do it for you. You'll need a philosophical shift. You don't need somebody to give you a philosophy. You don't need that. You need somebody who can guide you in a dialogue, a dialectic that leads you to a place where you go, okay, if I was going to develop a philosophy of life, what would it look like? In my philosophy, this is what good is. This is what we move towards. This is virtuous. In my philosophy, this is what evil is. This is what I don't let into my life. This is what I move away from. If I see any of this anywhere, no matter how much I think it's going to advantage me, I shun it. I turn away from it. This is what I think reality might be. And this is how I think a person should live their lives. These are like 4 basic asked questions that you must be able to answer. If you don't want to feel lazy, if you don't want to be procrastinating, if you don't want to feel anxious and you don't want to be depressed, you've got to answer these questions because you're an adult and adults don't function without answers to these fucking questions, guys. They don't. Consumer capitalism infantilizes people. It brainwashes you into thinking that life is about this. Here's the thing. I just fucking realized as I'm flapping my gums. They give you a philosophy, and their philosophy is poison. They tell you what is good. Narcissism, materialism, wanking, fucking other people behind your spouse's back. Why? Because orgasms feel good on my winky. Okay. Anything else? No. It's raw, crude materialism. Come, eat, shit, wear bigger gold bangles than the other fucking peasants, buy a gold-plated Kalashnikov. It's just psychopathic, dominance hierarchy-based gibberish because it's designed by psychopaths and narcissists, so they impose their values on you. What do they tell you is good? Pure narcissism, pure hedonistic physical pleasure. What is bad? Being a fucking loser. If you're cheated on, you're a loser. If you cheat, you win. And love is a game of winners and losers. That's modern culture. That's what it's taught us. Love is a game of winners and losers. There's a battle on between the sexes. That man, he's your fucking enemy. That woman. See that man that you live with? He's a psychopathic, sex-obsessed rapist. See that woman you live with? She's a psychopathic, money-grabbing, greedy, two-faced, gold digger. Sound familiar? Am I being too crazy? Or aren't these the very doctrines that are growing right now at an exponential rate? Psychology can't fix that because it's not a psychological problem. People are bandying the term narcissist and psychopath around now. They just fling it. It's a weapon. It's not even a diagnosis anymore. It's a weapon. It's a weapon in an ongoing war between teams. And that's how it's predominantly used. There's a few people who actually know what the DSM standards and the criteria are, and we try to use it with a bit of discipline. But for the overwhelming majority of the time, it's used to discredit people. It's just name them, shame them, bang it on them, there you go. So you live under the auspices of a dark philosophy that enslaves you, that infantilizes you, that makes you like an infant, makes you like a child. It makes you stupid. It makes you angry. It makes you reactive. It is not adult. It is not for your dignity. It is not for your growth. It is not for your thriving. It is to hold you back. It is to make you late. It is to make you retardé. It is to make you tardy in your growth. It is there to make you a good, stupid, reactive consumer voter. That's it. That's what it's there for. You need a philosophy that trumps that negative philosophy. You don't need psychology. Not really. I mean, psychology, if you show up with depression, or you show up and say you're sad and angry, a philosopher can say to you, well, I'm looking around at the world in 2020. I'd say if you weren't sad and angry, there'd be something fucking wrong with you. But psychology says sadness and anger are not permitted. Sadness and anger mean you are sick. Do you want to be cured now of your sickness? Yes, I do. I want to make me pure again, O great priest of psychology. Okay, commencing therapeutic nonsense now. And then they'll tell you they're taking you in a therapeutic process. And you will talk and 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 talk all your way around your problems for hours and hours and hours, whilst they sit there nodding and smiling and being encouraging and taking notes. Well, most of you have done fucking counseling and therapy. You know where that goes. You know where that goes. It's not just that the solution isn't psychology. The problem isn't even a psychological one. It's a philosophical one. So I'm not just saying your solution is philosophy, which I am saying. I'm not just saying that though. I'm actually saying the problems that you have are philosophical problems. They're not psychological problems. It's a sham. It's a scam. It's a con. It's a fraud. It's a fraud. I know I talk about psychology on my website. The website's being upgraded. I talk about NLP and psychology and stuff. All of that's coming off the website. I don't even know on the new website whether I'll mention that I have a degree in psychology because I don't use it. There's nothing in my I can't say there's nothing I use from my psychology degree. At the very least, the psychology degree taught me how to do psychology experiments. It taught me how to read abstracts. There's a few things I got. I'll be fair. There's a few things I got, but mostly I thought it was shit. I thought it was absolute fucking wank bubble shit. I said I wasn't going to swear in this video, and by the end of it, I've just really enjoyed my swearing. Don't let them. Who is they? Who is they? Whoever fucking designs the marketing and the advertising, and whoever's making money off the fact that people are stupid, frightened, lazy consumers. That they. Who's paying the advertisers? Right. That is the they I'm talking about. Don't let them convince you that there's something wrong with you. That, again, is part of consumer capitalism. Because if you can be convinced that you have a problem, then you can be convinced that you need to buy a solution. You don't have a problem. The world has problems. You don't have a problem. Your leaders are failing you. You don't have a problem. Your politicians suck. Some of us are carrying childhood trauma. That is a different frame than saying, I have depression. I have a problem that must be fixed. Say, I am scarred. I am traumatized. I'm carrying PTSD and I'm seeking to resolve it. It's a totally different frame, much more empowering frame. What does it mean? Like, oh, I'm just one of those people who has anxiety. Oh, the old anxiety gene. Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. And then these same people who perpetuate that bullshit go on and on and on ad nauseum about how fucking scientific they are. Meanwhile, they're taking science and they're just the basic principles of science, the basic principles of presenting a rational argument, torn up, tossed in the bin. I'm scientific. And you're going, you're not. You're fucking well not. There are rules to science. You don't get to make them up. That's not scientific. There's a particular community that I'm doing work with at the moment, and they keep saying that they're scientific. And I'm like, Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a scientist, but I respect the method. And I would never claim to be operating from a scientific method and then just fly in the face of it. That's to me, it's unforgivable. It's totally unforgivable. So my encouragement would be, look, it's probably time to start rethinking what the problem is and rethinking what the solution is. Please, please, please do prioritize developing a philosophy of life. Please try and prioritize getting to a sense of purpose. And then you'll say to me, how do I get my purpose? You must do the first steps first. What is good? What do you want to move towards? Write it down. What is bad? What will you not permit in your life? What do you think reality is? How should a person live? And listen, the reality question, like if you say, I want to ask what I think reality is, you won't come up with an answer. That's not what philosophy is about. That's dogma. In fact, that's basically the roots of religion is, oh, we asked the question and we found the answers. Fuck you. No, you didn't. Fuck you. You don't know. You stupid little human. You don't know. None of us fucking know. We're all as idiotic as the next. You don't know anything, but it's good for you, good for us, good for me to ask the question again and again, what is the nature of this reality? You can't ignore it. You can't just watch TV and not think about what you're in, what this is, what is this life? That's a noble question to ask, but you'll never get an answer. You'll never have a proper answer. You'll come up with something and then 2 years down the line, you'll look back on the answer from 2 years ago and go, oh, that was corny. That was weird. Oh, we're in a simulation. Okay. And then, so there you go. These are my thoughts for the day. I'm always trying to find the thing that would give everybody the most amount of traction in the shortest period of time. We're going through major changes. It will pass. It will pass. But we're going to need to be very strong. We're going to need to be very grounded. We for sure can't, as a group, as humans collectively, be living, acting, thinking, and operating from the philosophy that we had for the last 10 years in the next 10 years between 2020 and 2030. That won't work. That won't work because reality will start crushing people. The beliefs, the systems, the mode of thinking. I don't want to scare people, but over the next 10 years, if you try and live exactly the way you were living in the past 10 years, you will become very distressed and you will despair. And it's not going to be good. So you'll be safe if you let go of what was. Let it go. We must move forward. We have to move on. We must all move on. This is me kind of saying that I'm moving on. I'll still read psychology research. I'll still cite psychologists. I quite like psychoanalytic theory. I get a lot from it. I'll always use it, but I'll be letting people know loud and clear that it's actually intrinsically, for all the reasons I've given you, I think it's a con. I think it's fraudulent. It's intrinsically fraudulent, no matter how well intentioned the therapist is and the client is. It's a fraudulent endeavor. And so, yeah, I want you to move. I want you to be strong. I want you to be grounded. I want you to think very clearly. And for the sake of your own protection and for the people around you, please have it resolved inside of your head what you think you want your life to be about and what you won't let into your life. So when we're finding our purpose, we first have to know, I'm moving towards this and I'm moving away from that. I hope that makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention. And I look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon. Cheers.